John Maher breaking off for his partnership. Cue ball in off in the top left off a cut break from the right side. How does that happen?
How does that happen? I mean, it was almost the first ball up there as well, and you're thinking, that can't happen. He was going quite close to the bottom left corner. He got it just a touch thin. That's why you don't get the greatest of splits, which is the one saving grace for the in-off break. But are those three balls, yellow, red, yellow, set as a three-ball plant? Well, they are. There's enough gaps between them. The bigger question is, does the yellow come out when you play it, as in the top yellow, which should be hitting? And I think it would. I think when you play that, that yellow comes out towards the left hand, towards the middle of the table. So it's definitely an option. Could play it now. Could play it now. I don't think the thin clip going into it would be of benefit. Let's see. Yeah, it does come out beautifully. So it looked awkward. Only thing now you'd say is that the yellow to right centre is perfect to get on the 8-ball, but the two reds that guard it, all of a sudden, you don't want to leave yourself thin on that yellow and end up going away from it. So how big's the gap? I suppose if you've got the yellow to left centre, guaranteed to hit that gap. Anywhere near straight on the yellow to left centre, you can't fail. Yeah, that's the beauty here. You know, the gap may not be big, but you're only moving the cue ball, depending on what it looks like, a ball or two. Not even that.
So an excellent start. Darrell Whitworth and Dan Morgan have taken that finish out very tidily indeed. Against the head as well off the John Maher break.
Sharp start that. Very, very good. Obviously, it looked a messier layout than it was. The three-ball plant kind of made it for them, and once they landed on that, it was so clean and clinical.
You've always been pretty effusive in your praise about Darrell's game. You make to what he was saying about how he's enjoyed his first year on the pros, but it has made him realise that he's got to put in a lot more time off the table to be sharp at the very, very top end of the game here.
It sort of takes me back to Ronan McCarthy, if you like, in terms of, I remember when he won the seniors, which then led to the great success he had. He won 5 straight tournaments, including the World Championships and the Players' Championships. And he said, what was the success like? You know, where's the seniors win come from? And he said, well, I'm not playing machines every round. And that's the problem you have in the Pro Series, is that everybody can just play at such an unbelievable level that you don't sometimes have to do anything wrong to lose. And I think Darrell's a great player, but his assessment is correct. You need to put the time in to be able to compete with the very best, and obviously he's done well so far.
And even that might not be enough in this Shark Tank.
Well, that's where the mental strength comes in. You can play perfect and lose, and you have to just accept that you can't win every tournament. You can't turn up and dominate. You know, you look at, you know, there'll be times Tom Cousins, who's been our #1 for a while now, you know, he had a couple of tournaments where he had early exits at the British Open, at the Players' Championships, and I certainly wasn't. But you know, the question marks were there. But that happens. People are allowed to play great against you, and you don't have to dust yourself down and wait for the next tournament and be ready to win when it's your time to win.
Teejay Bateman at the table, and he and John Maher came through qualifying, and that came through at Trevor Burns' club, Miss Q's in Rochdale. There's Trevor there, supporting TJ and John tonight. Made the trip down from Rochdale, which is lovely to see. Brilliant club up there, Miss Q's, one of the affiliate clubs of Ultimate Pool, which put on the qualifiers and such. A fair few of those coming up throughout this tournament who come through those regional qualifiers.
Yeah, this red does go, so just want to get the cue ball out anywhere anywhere really on the red. You don't want to have loads of angle going towards the 8 ball, but anywhere back out and you're absolutely fine here.
Excellent, TJ.
And it's a really, really good first visit here for TJ.
Yeah, had to give him a bit of an apology after the interview, because I referenced a really strong performance and victory over Aaron Davies in the British Open. And he marked my card afterwards and said I did play really well, but I was edged in 6 red shootout. Sorry to bring up some bad memories there, TJ,
Yeah,
but he did play really well.
We do commentate on a lot of matches.
An excellent start for Teejay Bateman. John and TJ supporters in the house as well.
I feel like everyone's turned up, and obviously we've seen
Been a
the
level
error
tonight, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've seen the error from Ronan and Declan, but everybody else they turned up and played incredible. Small sample size, of course, but they've hit the ground running. This is going to be a very intriguing rest of the night, the way everyone looks like they're queuing tonight.
Yeah, if you wanted to ask someone watching for the first time who the world champion and the world #2 are, I think Declan and Ronan would be at the bottom of the list so far.
I'll let you tell them.
John Maher's break.
Please, can.
John's last break led to a reverse clearance. Just caught it a touch thin and got a very unlucky kicking off. See if he can put things right this time round.
Dry again, not getting the explosion that he'd won. There's a pretty noticeable sort of power discrepancy there, and that will be deliberate. John, you know, John can hit that break an awful lot harder than that, but he is deliberately going for that sort of steady control, and it looks good until it doesn't get you a ball. And also, in terms of layouts, they've both been a little bit smelly, these left so far.
Yeah, it's not exploding and leaving wide open tables. Obviously, it was reverse cleared in the opening frame, but it looked a messier layout than it was. It's maybe something that John needs to look at, because that, unfortunately, it's, you know, you're playing a race to 7 or 8 or 9, and you can go, well, I've hit the first 2 okay, I'll stay with it, but nights like tonight where you're playing 20-minute matches, you know, you have to kind of maybe make adjustments quicker than you would normally do. So you may see John make an adjustment. You may well get to the table in this frame. That wasn't the best of shots from Dan. I think he was probably playing a little developing shot, and he found a gap. Not sure if the developing shot was needed. I suppose the access, because every red actually has a pocket, but access to them is the tricky part. There's a yellow in the middle of 3 or 4 of them, causing all sorts of problems. And that will be a foul. Trying to clip that back in. Didn't hit a cushion. How easy to access the yellow that by his tip there. That's the one he's pointing at. That's the problem ball. Remember, it's cue ball in hand anywhere on the table. So he's got to try and figure out. So you ideally put yourself on that ball, but it might actually not have a pocket. So you may need to play a little developing shot.
Extension called.
If you're going to do that, I'd do it early. So I'd be tempted to play it straight away. Play the one to bottom right and go straight into it. Maybe going straight into it here. Yeah, that's a poor. In my opinion, that's a poor shot. I understand he wanted to deal with the one at the top of the table, but to me, pick one of the other yellows that's down there. Personally, I think the one to nearest the 8 ball, play that 3/4 ball, stun across into the red. You've got the one up the table, potentially you've got the plant, you've got the one down the table through the gap. You had all the balls to be on, and you're opening up a ball at the same time, whereas that shot there, even if he hits the yellow full, he might not land on anything. So I think it was a poor choice. Obviously still very unlucky to hit the gap and go straight in off, but yeah.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it, for pool players to not necessarily be results driven, and that might come, oh, it's just going to fall in, good shot. And that might come from, you know, tournament play where, you know, you bang on about all the time, you can't necessarily control how your opponent plays, so control how you play, and all you can do is control how well you're playing. Don't be too down on the results if you've played well. And it's the same with sort of shots, isn't it? Don't worry too much if it's gone in off and just think, oh, I was unlucky. Think about whether the shot was the right shot regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, and it's been always one of the things I look at with players. Are they looking at that or not? You know, too many players, in my opinion, just go, played a shot, got unlucky, move on. Whereas actually, was that the right shot to play? And that's where debate will come in. I'm sure if we polled, you know, some of the best players in the world, they probably would have seen that differently, and probably would have seen it differently to me. But that's what separates them. But you've got to look at those situations and go, oh, was that a right choice? I think he picked a choice that was harder to execute, and for it to go well. Remember, he's got ball in hand anywhere on the table here. I don't really see that shot as a good choice to me. I mean, yeah.
But to slightly play devil's advocate, some gap to hit.
Yeah, I mean, to go in off in that shot was tough. But it's hard. I know you've got ball in hand. To get that wrong, it's so easy because you can pop the pocket of the ball in slightly side of the pocket, and all of a sudden you've missed your line by miles. You know, we talked about Declan Brennan playing cushions because it gives him more control. You use a cushion there if you had to play that ball at the top of the table. You've got a wider target. I just thought it was a poor choice.
So big break from Dan Morgan. He is a big man. He's got some serious cue power behind him. Those have been crunched. They've been, I think, a little unlucky with the leave.
Red goes. They've got good out on here on Reds. 8-ball, I guess, needs some work.
Oh, they'd have loved to be on that Reds to bottom right. They are. They may take the one to bottom left first, though.
So I think this should be their last ball, or should have been their last ball. They now probably have to use it.
Unless they're going up the table, looks like they're cannoning into their slightly awkward Reds. I think Darrell's just said, if my sign language reading is good, that they're leaving those two Reds at the bottom of the table as a link for the 8.
Well, the best ball to get onto the 8 was the one they just had to play because the first positional shot didn't go to plan. If they could have left the one to the right of the yellow and the one they played previously as the last two, they connect together perfectly, and that connects together to the 8-ball perfectly. So they're having to slightly go about it differently, but still should give them a pretty good chance.
Important to land on the right side of this red down the table. This next cue ball is big.
It's big because the one after is huge. So you've got to have a good angle here, so then get a good angle on the next one.
Pretty good, you'd suggest.
Yeah. Might screw across, or can use the top cushion. Yeah, screws across. Yeah, that was
very
all
tidy, that from Darrell.
Yeah, all very nicely worked out.
They look really dangerous, this pair, you got to say. And small sample size, but they are gobbling up chances. That was well judged from Dan as well. As you can see, the path of the cue ball there was in off if he'd have played at any pace. 3-1 up, 6.5 minutes to go. Dan Morgan and Darrell Whitworth are absolutely flying here.
Yeah, they're looking sharp. So Dan needed two chances in the previous frame, but as a Scotch partnership, they've done really well. Good finish from Darrell as well. And it just highlights the error from John. It is a big one. You know, a ball in hand, wide open table. That's the level. You've got to get out there.
Yeah, it's not always a level on a Monday night in the Pairs Cup, but it feels like tonight it absolutely is. As we see John breaking off, middle of the break line, old-fashioned.
I'm not surprised to see the change, and the outcome has improved.
It's improved all right, but he would have loved a slightly better split all the same.
Yeah, he's got some work here. Just wonder whether there's an out on yellows without having to kind of develop anything. Reds look obvious, but you've got one really bad red that's so guarded. Whereas if you drop this yellow into left centre now, if you were straight enough and played on the one on the cushion, the one inside it would then go, so you could see an out maybe.
Red ball's in play.
But Reds did look like the obvious suit there, apart from the one really bad one. How are you going to deal with it? Go into it now. Right centre, can you get enough side on there and bottom cushion and go into it?
15-second shot clock in play.
John's got the shovel out and is going digging. Can he find gold? He's queuing a good ball, all right, but that red over on the left-hand side remains a major problem.
Yeah, I think he's missed an opportunity to go into it 3 shots ago. Got to land perfect here, otherwise he can't get into it. And I think he's maybe gonna roll too far. When you're playing for these sort of straight lines, it's difficult. Can he pinch enough of the pocket and punch this in with power?
Oh, that's unlucky.
Yeah.
That is unlucky.
It's another gap for John, he referenced there. Another one, he's very unlucky there to hit the gap. Any flick on the red and he's likely to be on a ball because he left one over the pocket as well.
Super thin, little bit of left. How's your luck? Well, gotta make the pot first.
Another one though that, you know, we can sit here and pick apart the decision making in terms of should you be playing that shot so late. He was still very unlucky. Let's put that out in terms of any flick and he's good there. But
yeah, that didn't feel to me as anywhere near as big a mistake as his previous one. It felt like, you know, you got to remember on a 15-second shot clock, and there's not many times that John's played on that, and you know, he felt like he had a clear plan. He executed his positional shot to get to his clear plan pretty well. You can probably say he was pretty unfortunate to get nothing there, and Darrell's miss, I'm not sure is going to cost him. This is a serious shot that John has to find. He may have to play this in off the yellow so that the red goes.
red might go. We'll find out the way he plays this. It does go. Oh, needs to pull up.
Oh, how do you like those apples? Yeah, a pretty good effort, honestly. That's a really, really, really tough shot. And it will be the match.
Yeah,
Penny for the thought of his partner, Teejay Bateman.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the pairs.
You feel for John, because obviously I'm being critical of some of his decision making, but on another night he gets the two flicks he's looking for, and he makes the run outs, and all of a sudden we're talking about, you know, we don't pick apart those decisions, and it's such a fine line. You know, he's not been off by much on those two shots.
Yeah, especially the second one. Especially the second one. Went 3-2 with still time on the clock, because the match is absolutely anybody's, but this is going to be 4-1. Darrell Whitworth is not going to pass up this chance. I tell you what, both the Makhs and Morgan and Whitworth here have played some really good stuff in round one. They'll meet in round two, and the winner of that match essentially has 1 foot in the last 16. For John Maher and Teejay Bateman, they're going to have to do it the hard way, as not only are they in the loser's side of the group, their next matchup is up against the world champion and the ultimate pool #2. Declan Brennan and Ronan McCarthy are in action next. They must win. So too must John Maher and Teejay Bateman. But what a beginning for Dan Morgan and Darrell Whitworth. This group is set to serve us up something special.